Caregivers, have you ever felt like nothing, I mean nothing is going right? Well, cheer up and welcome to Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver radio program, where you'll learn how to avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout and how to survive the grief process. You know, with roughly 100 million caregivers in the U.S. and Canada alone, that's about a third of the population. That means that everyone probably knows someone caring for a loved one. Join Dave and his guests now as they discuss avoiding caregiver burnout and surviving grief. So find a comfortable place to relax, kick up your feet, and prepare to feel better and to receive practical tips and tools that you can start using immediately to get you through today and every day so you can survive your tomorrows. But not just survive, but to live life fully and abundantly. Yes, you heard me right. That is a possible goal to achieve. And now, here's your host, Dave Nassaney. From LA, a big LA welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I am Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver, coming to you live globally on many platforms, including iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Radio, Blog Talk Radio, Mixcloud, Listen Notes, Blueberry, iTunes, and welcome to our newest platform, VIP Internet Radio, where all our recorded podcasts are saved for your later on-demand listening pleasure, and especially even on our website, caregiverdave.com or caregiverscaregiver.com or davethecaregivers.com. It'll all get you there, folks. Our goal here is to do our very best to help you avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout. That's right. It's nasty. It sounds nasty. It is nasty. Now, we have an exciting show planned for you today. First of all, I have my lovely co-host, Adrienne Gruberg, there. Say hello, Adrienne.
Hello.
And my guest did not work out today, so I decided we're going to talk about something that I've been doing for the last, 20 or 30 weeks. It's called 5 Minutes of Dave's Hammock Wisdom. And we have a couple that will play during the break. And I just want to talk about some of the topics that I've been doing, and it's been going over really good. I mean, people are watching it that I would never expect watch it, like my sister, my brother. I said, oh, my gosh, you just never know who's watching. I got to be careful what I say. Well, as I said, I'm your host, Dave Nassaney, and this show is to caregivers of every single kind because there are so many kinds of them. And the one thing we know about caregivers is that they are very caring and selfless and sacrificial souls, but they have this tiny little problem that they're very prone to burnout because they tend to put everyone else's needs above their own. That's why 30% of them actually die before their loved ones do, and 60% become hospitalized needing a caregiver of their own. And I just discovered a brand new statistic today. It has to do with a study was done by AARP. 40 to 60% of caregivers of the 1,677 caregivers that they studied said that in the past 2 weeks they felt depressed, hopeless, and down. The very symptoms that people who have committed suicide have felt. So we need to find the next group of people who are, there's just too many suicides out there, and caregivers are prone. So hopefully we can help avoid this depression. And so, as I say in my thing that I do around the country is that there's 3 things that you can do to avoid going there, avoid the depression, avoid the hopelessness, avoid the feelings of down. So anyway, let's get back to the grief process. Unfortunately, folks, there's only one way out of the grief process, and that's to go through the grief process. Anytime you suffer loss, you go through grief. You can't get around it. You got to go through the grief. It's not very fun, but it's necessary. So if you feel like you're stuck in your grief and your loss and you're ready to move on, we can help. Hey, I just want to thank my last week's guest, Carla Fagan, and she was a great guest, wasn't she, Adrienne? Probably
yes, she certainly
in the
was.
top 10. And I met her
Absolutely.
met her in New York at the publicity summit I was at. And she's going places. So if anybody needs a great guest, contact me and I'll hook you up. And just a reminder, you can listen to that interview and all our interviews right on our website, caregiverdave.com or caregiverscaregiver.com. All right, enough of that. A big welcome again to Adrienne. How was your week, Adrienne?
It was interesting. Eddie had an infection in his leg, which kept us out of the city because he needed to take it easy
Mm.
and delayed his leaving for California for a week. So we sort of had a semi-vacation.
So you're spending time on
Not,
Fire
not,
Island.
yes, I was.
Well, that's kind of
But
good news,
I
isn't
was
it? You
working.
extended your vacation, a working vacation.
Yeah, but I mean, I get a lot of work done out there. I get good work done out there because it's not as though the bell's ringing and the phone
Right,
is ringing and,
right.
yeah.
Well, it's like Hawaii for Charlene and I. We go twice a year. For lately, we've been going about 3.5, 4 weeks at it, and that's never happened before. But now that I can actually help people in Hawaii and make some money at the same time, it's. I said, why not? I'm
Nice.
getting older. I'm
Yeah.
64 years old. Who knows how long I can travel for? My wife, God bless her, 74 years old in a wheelchair, can't speak, paralyzed on the right side. How much longer can she travel? I don't know, but we're going to find out. So we travel a lot because caregivers shouldn't just roll over and die or stay at home. And if they can,
No?
if they can afford it, do it. And if you can't afford it, spend your children's inheritance because they probably don't call you enough anyway. And you know what? They would want you to spend their inheritance. Many of them, unless they're destitute,
Ah,
say, Mom, Dad, I'm doing okay. Just enjoy life. That's what I would do if I was your age or whatever. And that's the caring and the unselfish thing to do. Anyway, we're going to talk about my video series, which has turned out to be very popular to my surprise. I mean, of course I wanted it to be popular, but it's exceeded my expectations because, I try to be humble about myself because, of course, I think I'm the best thing since sliced bread, but, I'm prejudiced. It's what everyone else thinks that matters. And so I'm just humbled by the reaction I'm getting on all of these tours that I'm going on. So let's look at some topics that I speak about. Now, the last one I just did is called Your Subconscious is Stupid. Now, Adrienne, in your wildest dreams, can you imagine what that video would be about? He's thinking.
no.
He's thinking. I should
I
have
mean, I'm
told.
sure I could come up with something, but you
Yeah,
put me
well,
on
I
the spot.
guess
No,
it's too
no,
much
no.
energy to go through. So let me just share what this video is about. They tell us that your subconscious is kind of Switzerland, kind of neutral. It's not for you, it's not against you. It's for whatever you tell it. That's why I say it's kind of stupid. It doesn't know that you can succeed, and it doesn't know that you can fail. It knows only what you tell it. And there's so many people out there, caregivers included, who just funnel so much negative words. It comes out of their mouth, and they don't realize that words mean things. Words are powerful because those words go
Words
right into your
matter.
subconscious. So if you say, "Oh man, I'm going to always be broke. I'm going to always be in this caregiver prison. I'm never going to get out of here." Well, guess what? Your subconscious is hearing that. It says, "Oh, really? Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. I'll make sure that comes to pass." And by the same token, if you confess positive things, now this isn't, positive confession mumbo jumbo. This is scientifically proven that when, you have to really believe it in order to see it. Yet we think the opposite. You have to see it to believe it, right? Isn't that what Thomas the Apostle said when Jesus showed him his wounds? He says, "I'm not going to believe it till I can stick my finger in your holes." And he said, "Well, here." So if you tell your subconscious positive things like, "You know what? I'm going to get that job. You know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to get on the Today Show," or whatever. Then your subconscious is saying, "Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah, I'll make that happen." And it's like the engineer of our brain, and it just gets on the keyboard and it's typing in all the stuff. Says, "Oh, there's an opportunity over there. I bet if we use that, oh, blah, blah, blah." And it all goes on. We're not even thinking about it. So do you believe that, Adrienne? Am I telling the truth here?
That your unconscious manifests? Yeah, I
Yes.
think that's the
Yes.
truth.
And what experience have you had with situations or
Well, I knew,
testimonies?
I knew when I was sitting around waiting rooms in cancer centers with
Mm,
Steve that I was going to do the caregiver space, and I would say, that's what I'm going to do, that's what I'm going to do. That, and when he first passed away, there was a lot of paperwork to attend to and a lot of other stuff, but I had been feeding myself the good stuff,
good for you.
and it happened.
Proof is
It
in the pudding. It
actually,
happened.
yeah,
What do you
yep.
think would have happened if you would have been like, the Debbie Downer and you just said, "Oh my gosh, it's just down, down, negative, negative, negative." You think you'd be where you are?
No, I'm getting older and things are a little harder for me, and I've had to listen to that voice in my head, like, you better be careful. Yeah, there, there's reality in that,
The voice of
You
wisdom and
can
reality.
need to be practical as well, as far
Yes.
cautious as far as, physical activities and things.
Cautiously optimistic. Those two words
Yeah.
sound good together, don't they?
Yes. I don't think there's anything wrong with having that caution there. I think
Yeah,
it keeps you from making stupid choices,
yeah.
frankly.
Unlike two words that don't belong together, like military intelligence, just
Yes, right.
So another topic on my 5 minutes of hammock wisdom. This is a simple one. Stay in shape. Why do you think caregivers need to stay in shape? Now, I'm a caregiver, and it is so hard to get on my bike. My goal is to get on it 3 times a day, and it just doesn't happen. Um, Once or twice, I'm doing really, really good. There's some weeks that I don't get on it at all because, like I said before to you off the air, the weeks just go by very quickly. And I was telling you, unless I book my guests months in advance, the next week is here, and I say, oh my gosh, I didn't book a guest or whatever, and oh my gosh, I didn't go on my bike last week. And I had back problems, and I
Hmm.
was scheduled for surgery. And I like to call it a miracle of God because I felt this heat in my back while I was at my church filming their service. And I heard this
Hmm.
voice that said, "You're healed." And I said, okay, well, it's probably me saying that. But I went to the doctor, got my MRI. Here's the subconscious again, right? I wanted to be healed, so I believed it. I said, I'm healed. I went to the doctor,
Hmm.
and believe me, my surgery was scheduled. I got the MRI. I go to the doctor's office to schedule the surgery like 2, 3 days, and he says, "You know what?" And I said, "What?" He says, "These X-rays are interesting. Your herniated disc in your L5 shrunk from 8 millimeters to 3 millimeters." And he says, "I don't think you need surgery anymore. That's manageable. Why don't
No,
you just
not, yep.
join a gym, work on your core?" I didn't even know what a core was, but I joined, you know, LA Fitness, and I got a trainer, and they're not cheap. But I figured, how much am I going to value my health? I don't want that pain again because I couldn't stand for more than 5 minutes. I certainly couldn't be going on this tour that I've been going on since last July. No way, chasing airplanes and airport terminals and buses and subways. So I try to be very religious about going to the gym and working out with the trainer and swimming. My pain management guy says lots of great exercises doing the pool. So
Yep.
I'm good about going every week, but he thinks I should be doing it 3 times a week. So, there's always more you can do. So caregivers obviously need to stay in shape because, it gets the endorphins flowing, gets you thinking more positive. It makes you feel better about yourself, makes you look better. When you look better, you feel better. And it gives you more energy. When you have more energy, you don't want to just sleep and, do nothing. And there are things you can do to get exercise if it's really hard for you to get it. Park really far away from things at the supermarket. Park at the furthest end of the lot And that way you got to
God.
walk all the way, and you're already going to do a lot of walking in the store because I could never find
In the
where everything
market,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then when you just have it figured out, they come in and they redo the whole store, and then they move everything. And I don't know why they do that, but it really upsets me. But it gives me more exercise because I have to go down the same aisle 5 and 6 times to try to find something that I knew was there, but now it's not there. So you got any insight on staying in shape? You look pretty good.
Well,
What's the
I
secret?
changed the way I eat totally.
Diet. So what's your diet? Yeah, I didn't even talk about diet. That's
Um,
important.
well, uh, I was on a diet of chocolate chip cookies and bagels when Steve passed away because that's basically
They
what
go
he ate.
together,
And the
right?
only, you know, it was sort of senseless for me to cook and do things that were going to go uneaten because he and his mother just wanted tuna salad on a bagel and chocolate chip cookies. And
As tasty as that sounds,
uh,
yes.
yeah, but I don't eat flour anymore, and not a
So you're
gluten-free
gluten
thing.
free.
It's a
Oh,
no, it's not because I'm gluten-free.
what's your choice
I
to not
don't
eat
eat
flour?
flour. I don't eat sugar.
Okay,
Hmm?
sugar. I can understand sugar. It's bad. Why the flour? What's your reasoning?
I I think, well, let's put it this way. My boyfriend uh, eats a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and when would come to New York,
Mm-hmm.
I would eat the way he was eating, and
And
my
you
weight
liked it?
started to drop, and I
Oh.
started to feel better. And despite the fact that it's not the easiest way to eat and meet other people for lunch or dinner or
Mm-hmm.
entertain, uh, eating the right way has made my headaches better.
Ah, because you get
And
migraines, right?
yes, and it has helped. I think the flour had to do with how I was metabolizing food
Mm.
and the headaches. So it's definitely much better for me. Raw fruit, raw vegetables. I mean,
Yeah.
I eat healthily now.
And that's cancer-free foods anyway, fruits and vegetables, raw especially. And a great
Yeah.
probiotic, by the way, that man has been using for thousands of years because probiotics are very expensive, to build up your good bacteria, right? Yogurt is good. It has got like millions of
I have.
friendly bacteria, but there's something even better with billions with a B, and that's raw sauerkraut, the kind that's refrigerated. You can get it from Whole Foods. And
Oh,
see,
really? I didn't
oh
know.
yeah, yeah. Google it.
I
It's
can't see
it's
having
it
sauerkraut for
just takes
breakfast though.
well, you get used to it. 1 tablespoon, one heaping tablespoon of raw sauerkraut out of the fridge. You just eat that, and you just invigorated your system with billions and billions, like Carl Sagan, billions and billions of friendly bacteria, and especially if you're taking antibiotics, stuff like that, because that tends to kill things and
Yes.
obviously chemotherapy. You definitely need to replenish all the things that is killing, and it's just great preventative medicine for fighting cancer cells, don't you think?
It's it, the thing about it is I wanted Steve to eat better while he was sick. He
Yeah.
just didn't have the kind of appetite that was going to make that happen.
And
Um,
it's so much easier when you have a
People
buddy
could,
helping you out, isn't it?
well, I was a buddy. I would have prepared anything for him, but
Hmm.
if I cooked, he wouldn't necessarily eat it. So
But you followed
I
his regimen.
tried.
You learned something.
I followed. Then I started to follow the way Eddie ate.
Hmm.
I mean, when Steve passed. So there's a big difference.
And I think it's great that you have a
And
boyfriend.
energy.
A
Hmm?
lot of caregivers, and we'll talk about this later. I think it's great you have a boyfriend. A lot of caregivers, after care, right? You've got a group after care. How many of those people in there just can't even think about replacing their their spouse that passed away, right?
Well, I'll tell you, I went to the first caregivers convention that was held in Chicago 2 years ago, that
Uh-huh.
Denise Brown,
Right.
held, and I was on a panel for after caregiving,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody talked about what it was like more or less before, and grief and this and that, and
Mm-hmm.
the people that were in the audience were really not getting very much out of it because that's not really what they wanted to hear about.
Yeah.
So when I started to talk about life after caregiving, that you could be happy and fulfilled and have a sex life and a boyfriend and everything else. I mean,
Wow.
finally I engaged the audience. You know,
Wow.
nobody else did, because it was almost as if it was a taboo, and
Yeah.
it's not a taboo.
Right.
There
Wouldn't your
is no
spouse want
taboo.
you to go on living and be happy? I mean, people don't think about that, you know?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
it's,
I know Steve wanted me to go on living. He
yeah.
gave me a list of people that I should not go out with. Three specific people, three very specific people. And the funny thing is, very shortly after he died, I mean the week he died, I needed some comic relief, so I went on Match.com. I had never been
Mm-hmm.
on a single site because I hadn't
Uh-huh.
been single. And I started to look around, and so I registered, not knowing that this was just so I could have stuff coming into my inbox that would
Yeah.
amuse me. And two of the people that showed up right away were two of the three people that he
Oh
didn't want me
my.
to date.
Oh
So
my.
he was right. It was
Okay.
funny.
Well, listen, we're going to listen to one of my 5 minutes of Dave's hammock wisdom. They're not all 5 minutes. Some of them are a little less, some of them are a little more. So we're going to watch this video, and it's called Take Time to Care for Yourself. So we'll be right back. Don't go away. Hey, everybody. Dave Nassaney, Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver. 5 minutes of Dave's hammock wisdom here. And today's topic, enjoy the little moments of life. I'm here in my backyard, just enjoying the blue sky and the trees and the pool and the waterfall. And as a caregiver, it's important to take time to come out and get away from your situation. Hey, Dave. And to just relax and to breathe and to let the oxygen that the trees are producing go into your lungs and to just de-stress. Hey, Fred. It is so, so important for you to be one with nature. Now, I'm not sounding like a tree hugger here, but something just happens to me, when I come out here and I'm just surrounded by nature and water. It's proven that water, sounds of water falls, whether real or man-made, are very therapeutic. And it's really, really true. And stress is what's killing people. Stress is what's killing caregivers. I need to remind you again, 30% of caregivers die before their loved ones do. I mean, think about that. You're caring for someone and you die before they die. Or 60% become hospitalized and need a caregiver themselves. So you're caring for somebody and all of a sudden you get sicker than the person you're caring for. What's wrong with this picture? Stress, the way you react to things, the way you internalize things, okay? You have to put your life above the one you're caring for. So many people I talk to put their loved one's life above theirs. So therefore, they give themselves permission to become a martyr and to sacrifice their life for their loved one. It's one thing for a mother to throw herself in front of a moving vehicle to save the life of a little baby. But I don't think that applies here because this is a slow suicide. I mean, if you want to kill yourself, just get a gun and shoot yourself. It's much faster. I'm kidding, of course. But, it's not only suicide, it's torture. You know, it's sliding bamboo shoots up your fingernails. I mean, that's what it's like. Don't torture yourself. Stop torturing yourself. Caregiving doesn't have to be the nightmare that most people make it. It's mostly, and I understand, trust me, I understand that some situations are really, really, really bad and horrific. But it doesn't matter how horrific it is. If you respond, hey Fred, hey Paul, if you respond appropriately to whatever life throws your way, you can make it without going crazy. It's all about how we respond to circumstances. Now, I personally respond by allowing God to give me, because I know He already has, to give me whatever it takes. Hey, Harvey X, how you doing? Sure do miss Andre. God gives me whatever it takes to get through what I'm going through today. That's called a custom-made trial for the benefit of your perfection. So that's a lot of information that I gave you to mull on. So, and I think my 5 minutes is up. So God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being so supportive of these wisdom videos, because all wisdom we know comes from where? God. Bye-bye. And we're back. So I think that was a good video.
Who were the people you were saying hello to?
Oh, I was doing it on Facebook Live. And I never did Facebook Live before because it just made me nervous. Oh my gosh, live. What if I mess up? And, I have a mentor who does it all the time. And so I just watched him and I says, my gosh, if he's not afraid of doing it, I'm going to do it. So I got real brave one day and I just did it. And it wasn't so bad. And because if you meet someone on the street that you haven't seen in a while, you should start up a conversation. Hey, don't sit there and go, no, you always have something to say because they're right there, new blood, new meat, and new conversations, new whatever. And so I just treat it as if I'm talking to somebody that I just met. And so it's fun. And so Facebook Live, they pop on and say, hi, Dave, and so I got to say hi back, I think I do. It makes it a little fun. And so a lot of wisdom in that one, take care of yourself. Stress kills. Stress causes cancer cells to explode. Stress gives you ulcers. So just take care of yourself. And too many caregivers don't go outside of their own backyard or to the park and just take 5, just relax and just let nature soak you in. What's your strategy? Do you do that periodically, Adrienne? I know you live in Manhattan. There's only Central Park next to you. No, you got Washington Square.
No, I live much. I live very close to Madison Square Park, which is on 23rd Street and 5th Avenue. It's a beautiful, beautiful park now. They've redone it, community funded, and they redid the whole place. And it went from a place that was like messengers get stoned there on their way from one place to another, to having 2 dog runs and a Tai Chi stone pit that you can be in, and lawns and bleachers and artwork. It's a wonderful little park. And I do go there, and I will take Shotzi with me.
Your dog?
And my dog. And she is a catalyst for conversation. You can't imagine how many times, like, they're the first person that's ever said it. She is so cute.
Yeah, they say that on my dog too.
It's just, I never heard that. You know, I never say I've never heard that before, but it always goes through my head. Um, but people say, what is she? Part schnauzer? Part whatever, you know. So, I mean, she gets conversation started.
Yeah.
And then another thing I'm doing is I will wear a t-shirt in the park that says Faces of Care with our Faces of Care logo on it.
Mm.
And on the back, it has some questions. And its first question is, are you or do you know a caregiver? Talk to me. So they
Well,
do.
that's good. Remember those
Yeah.
guys in the old days that they used to wear, I'm losing weight, ask me how. And after a
No, I
few of
never.
those, you just avoid them and say, no, I'm not going to ask him.
No,
So,
no.
well, that's
That
good.
I never saw them.
That's they're selling
But
multi-level marketing something. Can't even
uh-huh.
remember what it was. It might have been,
Pyramid marketing.
yeah, it might have been
Hmm.
Shackley or something or
Probably
whatever.
Shackley.
But yeah, they teach you to go through all of your friends, then all of your relatives, and then after you've
Right?
alienated everybody in your life, then they
Everybody.
dump you. And they avoid you like the plague.
So the
So
first people in are the ones that succeed,
that's
and everybody
right.
else just gets left with a lot of product.
That's right. So that's there's some other videos I have. Be creative about your me time, and I think we just kind of discussed the creative ways that you can do it. Go to a park, go to the beach. We're close to the beach over
Right?
here, and I just love sitting on the sand, hearing the ocean waves crash. I love it so much. I bought this thing that has a recording of waves that lull me to sleep at night, and my wife loves it for a different reason because she says it masks my snoring. And I says, "What do you mean? I don't
Snoring.
snore. You
Yeah.
can never hear me snore." And so there's lots
Me
of creative
snore? What?
ways to
Yeah.
just, I have a
Well,
bike.
I
I
mean,
like to go bike riding, especially at the beach.
yeah.
What's your favorite thing?
I I will take a pad with me just about every place that I go, a pad and pencil, and if I don't think about anything in particular to write about, I will just start writing descriptions of people at the next table or the person on the bench opposite me, or
That's funny.
it's sort of, instead of doing a sketch, it's a little profile, a verbal profile, you know.
Yeah.
And that can be very, very relaxing. It
Yeah.
gets you out of yourself,
Yeah.
for
You're a big
sure.
proponent of journaling too. Get it out.
Yes, I'm a big proponent of journaling.
Yeah.
Uh, don't keep it to yourself. Put it out there.
Yeah.
Just dump it.
Boy, caregivers
Put
are
it
getting
on
a
the
lot of
page.
a lot of great advice on today's show. We might do this more often.
Yeah,
uh, this
they
is just like,
frequently do when it's just the two of us.
yeah, well, it's like Kelly and Regis. They're just sitting around, shooting the breeze, just talking shop and helping people at the same time. What is that?
Me, Steve, and
Oh,
Regis.
Regis,
I
you,
think
Steve, and Regis. Oh my gosh.
Steve and Regis were friends.
Is he as nice as he seems? He just seems so down to earth.
Well,
You don't have to answer that if you don't want.
he is down to earth, but he's a friend of Mr. President,
Trump?
and yes, and I don't want to get into politics, but when Steve passed away and I called Regis to let him know,
Hmm.
I never got a phone call back, and that was very disappointing. So, despite the fact that he thought that I was great because I loved baseball, and he thought
Bridges all
Steve was the
caps.
luckiest man in the world to have
Yeah.
somebody that he was married to who liked baseball. Um, I never got a phone call back from him, and
Are you sure he got
it
it?
did
That doesn't
disappoint
sound
me.
like him.
Yes, yes, yes. I knew his secretary.
Maybe
I
she
mean,
forgot.
he actually ran Who Wants to Be a Millionaire,
Yep.
by Steve, asking him whether or not he thought he should do it.
Hmm.
He took him up to his penthouse apartment and said, "Well, what do you think?" Steve said, "You'd be crazy not to." But Steve and I were both game show people.
Yeah.
So,
So let's talk about more show titles. I did one called "What's Your Faith In?" and it wasn't really a religious thing. It's just, a lot of people put their faith in different things, right? You're putting your faith in that chair that you're sitting in, that it's not going to collapse underneath you. We
right?
put our faith in
Right.
different things every single day, many times a day. Some people put their faith in their baseball heroes, right? And follow their personal
Oh,
life, and
yeah.
they know, and all of a sudden, when your hero, is busted for drugs or something, oh, you're just, you know,
Yeah.
devastated because you put them up on a pedestal, and we Americans love to put people up on pedestals, but you know what? I'm going to predict something. Whoever you put on a pedestal, they're going to fall down because we're all human, we're all imperfect, and it's good to have a fan and a hero or whatever, but only God belongs on a pedestal. But other things people put their faith in. Can you think of other things people put their faith in, Adrienne, that it doesn't work out very well, or maybe it does?
Oh, that doesn't work out well.
Either one.
I think you have to choose your friends wisely, the
Oh
people that
yeah.
you put your faith in. Um, you know, good time Charlies. You really need to learn to be a good judge of character and friendship. And just
Yeah.
because you go out on a limb for somebody, or if it, just because it's second nature to you and me
Hmm.
to do this, it's not to somebody else, and they'll disappear.
Yeah.
And I I did let go of a bunch of friends that were not really friends.
Yeah.
Uh, I found out.
Everybody has a
So
motive for friendship. I was told in a lot of marketing classes that you will become the sum total of the average of the 5 friends you hang around. I tell a lot of teenagers, I told my kids this as they were growing up. Birds of a feather flock together. And I says, do you see yourself becoming like that person? No, absolutely not. Well, then why are you friends with them?
right.
Hang around people you want to become like. It just seems like,
I don't necessarily agree with that.
well, how do you disagree?
I like
Commend it.
a big a variety of
Variety.
ages and
That's true.
I was told to have friends in every age group
That's right.
so that you had a different perspective of what was going on in the world, so that you could understand what a teenager was going through
Yeah.
versus somebody who was going on 90 was going through.
Well, that's true. I agree.
But to have friends in all of those, now they don't have to be your best friends. They
Yeah.
could just be acquaintances
In
and
your
people that you
circle.
socialize with. Yeah, but I think if it's picking somebody that's the way I aspire to be, it would have a lot more to do with their character than their profession
Ah,
or their interests.
Martin Luther King, where the worth of a person will be judged more on the character than the color of their skin. Yes. And yeah, I agree with that. You and I have a lot in common. I consider you a very good friend. I mean, I was in New York. We wanted to have dinner. Didn't work out, but it's
We
going to work out.
tried.
Besides, you just admitted it's so hard to have dinner with people because you don't know what to eat. So you decide what we're going to eat because I can basically eat anything. Um,
Well, I mean, if I go to a fish restaurant, I can always eat.
yeah,
But
I like fish.
it's if somebody invites you to dinner in New York at this point, it, it's almost de rigueur that this asks if you have any dietary exclusions
Yeah,
because they want to make sure that there's something for you to eat.
sure.
that's not the way it was when I was entertaining regularly. You knew the people you were asking over. If you wanted to make lasagna, you made lasagna.
Right.
And if no one was gluten intolerant at that
Right. And no
time,
one's
you
allergic to
know,
nuts, and I don't know
no one,
why
right?
all of a sudden everybody's allergic to everything.
Right? Everybody's allergic to everything, or they're vegan,
Yep.
or the difference between vegans and vegetarians is really a huge difference when it comes to
Hmm.
preparing food.
Yeah.
Um, so
So
it's interesting.
as I said, you and I have a lot in common, and we can have a good time together, and we're having a good time today, right now. But there are some things that we disagree on, sometimes
Sure.
very passionately, like, politics. And you and I have different beliefs religiously. So, but that doesn't,
Religious belief systems, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that
But I
doesn't
still
really affect
consider
us.
myself a spiritual person.
And so do I.
I just don't have, I know, but I
There's
mean,
there's
people,
always something you can find in
I don't have
common
a
with somebody.
label.
Right. Don't put people in a box. So that's why I do
No.
not get this current trend in our country where you have to just divide, instead of looking for things that we can have in common with, right? You mentioned baseball before. There's nothing that brings people closer together than a baseball game. It doesn't matter if you're a Trump supporter or an Obama supporter. If you love the Brooklyn Dodgers or whoever the team is, I know they're not around anymore.
It was the
It didn't
Dodgers, yeah.
matter, And now we can't even go to a football game without people question, well, do you believe that they should kneel or do you believe that they should, put their hand over their heart? And I says, come on, it's football, Can't we leave that somewhere else? And that's the trouble with the world. Well, I say the world. I was going to say this country, but I think it's definitely in Europe too. But we just need to,
Mm.
we had the LA riots many years ago, and the guy who the riots all started over, Rodney King, because he was being beaten by
Rodney
an
King. Oh,
LAPD
well,
officer.
those LA riots,
Those
not
LA,
the
yeah, we
Watts
had so
riots.
many. But after it was all said and done, and after Reginald Denny had his brains beat in by a bunch of
Why
black
can't
people,
we all just get
can we
along?
all just get along, And poor guy, and he's gotten busted after that since. But I quote him so much. I says, "Come on, can't we all just get along?" So let's move on to the next
That's it's
one.
part of letting go.
Yeah, embrace your
And
difficulties.
that's a very important. Yep.
Right? We all have difficulties, and we all try to avoid them. But wouldn't it make sense to, instead of avoid them, because they're never going to go away, right? If there's a person who just irks you at work, and you try to find another job to get away from that person, well, guess what? People like them are everywhere. They're going to follow you around wherever you go. You can't run away from them or
No,
situations.
they'll always.
So you have to
Sure.
learn to deal with them. If they're your enemy, make them your friend. If they find out what they like, find out what you have in common with. Maybe they love baseball, maybe they love football, maybe they love knitting. I don't know, but you just have to embrace your difficulties, and you will find that you will be a happier person. You will find that you will get along with more people, that you won't get irritated enough. I mean, has this been your experience?
Definitely. I I really try and let the differences go. Because if I dwell on those, I mean, I wouldn't even get through, an evening or a cup of coffee.
Right.
Um, I try to look for the things that we have in common because we're all human beings, and there have to be things that we share.
Right. And for
Just
caregivers,
we share the earth, we
for
share where
caregivers,
we live.
the
Yeah,
difficulties is our caregiving mission, right? Instead of,
right.
complaining about caregiving, enjoy it. I remember there was an old movie
I I
on.
have had I have a few people I have a few people right now on the Facebook page like don't tell me to enjoy caregiving.
Yeah, I've been there
It's
too.
it's 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 not so much that I tell people to enjoy it. I will tell people that it's very rewarding, and I believe that. It's not a walk in the park. Um, I found my best self while I was a caregiver.
Hmm.
And I'd been a caregiver many times in my life, but certainly caring for Steve and my mother-in-law at the same time was the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And I don't regret a day of it. I would have had regrets had I not been as good a caregiver as I was.
Yeah. Charlie Chaplin, I forget what movie it was in, but he was playing this scene where, he was doing a job. He was sweeping the warehouse or something.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden he started dancing with the broom. And, you know, there's a lesson to learn there. Take whatever meaningless, boring job there is and turn
Hmm.
it into fun, Or,
Right.
or, or I tell the story a lot. The boy who had to shovel out manure in his father's barn, he started doing it really excitingly because he was pretending, man, if there was so much crap down here, there must be a pony under here anywhere. Anyway, and
Somewhere.
so,
Yeah.
so he was pretending that was happening. And there's so many things that we can do. There was even a song, I forget what the title was, but it just, you know, I
Well,
during
Pennies from Heaven is that
Yes,
song.
yes, yes. I always pretend, and I tell my daughter this all the time when she was growing up. She goes, I don't want to do it. I says, pretend I'm going to give you $1 million if you do it. Are you? No, but just pretend. Then you would do it with enthusiasm, and you would be having fun. You say, oh, I'm going
That's
to
the
earn all
Nat
this
King.
money.
That's the Nat King Cole song.
Oh, which one
Pretend
is
you're
that?
happy when you're blue.
That's
Pretend
right. That's the one I was
is
thinking
the
of.
Nat King Cole
Pretend
song.
you're happy when you're blue. It isn't very
That's right.
hard to do. I love Nat King Cole. Well, listen, let's take another break because we have one more to share. I think this one is called Fact or Opinion. Okay, we'll be right back. 5 minutes of Dave's Hammock Wisdom, a very popular segment I do here. Everybody has been commenting on how wonderful the wisdom has been. So glad I'm not disappointing you. Today I want to talk about the difference between a fact and your opinion. Many, many years ago, when I was just a teenager, it was recommended to me to read a book. It was called Psycho-Cybernetics. It's a very, very old book. And it helped me a lot because it was written by a plastic surgeon who has since died in the 70s. And he discovered that so many good-looking people, in his opinion, came to him for plastic surgery. And he would try to talk them out of it and say, but there's nothing wrong with your nose. It's not too big. But they just wouldn't have any part of it, or whatever part of the body they were discussing. Hey, Bruce. Hey, Linda. And so he wrote a book based on a person's self-image. And I just found it the other day on Amazon because I just remember the book changing my life as a teenager. And so I wanted to read it again. So I ordered it, and they sent it, and I just threw it in the bathroom book rack, where we have there where we can read when we're trying to kill time. And so I turned to a chapter today, and I says, that would be an awesome, hey, Sue, that would be an awesome topic to talk about today. So I just want to read this one little section, if you would indulge me. Your opinion can add up to unhappy events. Your opinion can add up to unhappy events. Even in regard to tragic conditions and the most adverse environment, we can usually manage to be happier, if not completely happy, by not adding to the misfortune of our own feelings of self-pity, resentment, and our own adverse opinions. How can I be happy? The wife of an alcoholic husband asked me. I don't know, I said, but you can be happier by resolving not to add resentment and self-pity to your misfortune. Okay, so somebody else says, how can I possibly be happy? Asked the businessman. I have just lost $200,000 on the stock market. I'm ruined and disgraced. Well, you can be happier, I said, by not adding your own opinion to the facts. It's a fact that you lost $200,000. It's your opinion that you're ruined and disgraced. Hey, Tony, how you doing? When I announced that I wanted to be a doctor, I was told that this could not be because my folks had no money. It was a fact that my mother had no money. It was also only an opinion that I could never be a doctor. Later I was told I could never take postgraduate courses in Germany and that it was impossible for a young plastic surgeon to hang out his own shingle and go into business for himself in New York. I did all these things. And one of the things that helped me was that I kept reminding myself that all these, quote, impossible, unquote, things were just opinions, not facts. I not only managed to reach my goals, but I was happy in the process. Even when I had to pawn my overcoat to buy medical books and do without lunch in order to purchase cadavers, I was in love with a beautiful girl. She married someone else. These were facts, but I kept reminding myself that it was merely my opinion that this was a catastrophe and that life was not worth living. I not only got over it, but it turned out that it was one of the luckiest things that ever happened to me. So there you go. Zolita, hola, how are you doing? Harvey, Anna. So talking about the difference between facts and opinion. You know, this guy is so right, and I'm reminded why I just love this book. Again, if you tuned in late, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. And basically he's just saying, okay, so you just lost your wife, so you just lost millions of dollars, so the doctor says you have 3 months to live, or whatever it is, whatever facts are telling you that your life has just been flushed down the toilet, it's only your opinion that matters, right? So think about that. Meditate on that. Don't mistake facts for opinions. I mean, they told me that I could never be on television in Hawaii because I wasn't a local. Was that a fact or was that opinion? Well, that was an opinion. It was a fact that I wasn't Hawaiian, but it was an opinion that they said that I could never make it. So don't give up. Don't confuse a fact from an opinion. And I'll see you next time. God bless you. Bye-bye. Well, we're back with Adrienne Gruberg. And that was a great lesson, I thought, because it's true, you know. It's either a fact or it's an opinion. And everybody thinks that someone's opinion of what they can or cannot do is a fact. And it's not. So any opinions on that, Adrienne?
Well, just the fact that I agree.
Well, time has flown by. We only have 3 more minutes to go. So let's wrap it up. How can somebody get a hold of you, Adrienne, if they want to, pick your brain or go to the Caregiver Space?
Well, it's Adrienne, ADRIENNE, at thecaregiverspace.org, which is my email. And then thecaregiverspace.org is the website that has links to all the different social media that we're on, or look for us on Facebook at the Caregiver Space.
Great. And
which also has all the links.
And you want to reach me? It's simple. You just Google Caregiver and Dave. Those 2 words will get you there, or caregiverdave.com, or caregiverscaregiver.com, or davethecaregivers.com. We got all the bases covered. So I'll see you soon, and read my book, watch my videos, join our team, and you're going to have a great time becoming a member of our caregiver community, because all caregiving communities, especially Adrienne's, is caring and sympathetic and empathetic. And we want you to survive this thing called caregiving. We don't want you to become a statistic. We don't want you to go to the morgue or to the hospital. We want you to be happy, right?
Right.
Thank you. We'll see you next time. So God bless and have a wonderful day. Bye. Thank you for joining Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver radio show. Goodbye.